Hello, this is Professor Hester, and I'm going to show you how to create nested loops. A nested loop is a loop inside another loop. When we have nested loops, the outer loop begins its first iteration, and then the inner loop performs all of its iterations. After the inner loop finishes, the outer loop begins its next iteration. Think of it like this. Suppose I work on a campus with several buildings. I want to visit every room on the campus. The buildings are the outer loop, and the rooms inside a building are an inner loop for that building. First, I go to the blue building. This is the first iteration of my outer loop. Inside the building, I visit all 35 rooms. Visiting the rooms is my inner loop. After I finish, I exit and I go to the next building, the purple building. This is the second iteration of the outer loop. Inside the purple building, I execute my inner loop by visiting all 50 rooms one at a time. Now, I exit the purple building and start my third iteration of the outer loop by entering the orange building. Just like I did before, I execute my inner loop by visiting each room. Once I exit the orange building, I have completed visiting each room on the entire campus. Now let's build a program that uses nested for loops to print a multiplication table. I want to print the first 12 multiples of each number from 1 to 9. When finished, this table will look a lot like an Excel spreadsheet. Also, in order to format my output, I have included the iomanip header file. First, I'm going to create constants for the number of rows and columns that I want. For our problem, I want 9 rows and 12 columns. Now I'll build the outer loop. My loop will use iterator variable I, and it will execute once for each row. For my test condition, I will compare I to the constant rows. So I will execute this loop as long as I is less than or equal to rows. Immediately after entering the outer loop, I begin the inner loop. This loop will execute once for each column. Here, I will use iterator variable j because it must be different from the outer loop's variable. For this test condition, I compare j to the constant calls, and so I will execute as long as j is less than or equal to calls. I want my numbers to line up in the table, so I will use setW to print each number with at least 4 spaces. Now, I multiply my two iterator variables, I and j, so that I can display their product in my table. I don't need any spaces after the numbers because we have used setW to pad the numbers with spaces. Also, I want each number to print on the same row. After the inner loop prints all of the columns for the row, I am still in my outer loop. I want the next row to begin on a new line, So I finish this line with a line break. Let's execute the program and see the resulting table. Here we can see rows 1 through 9. For the first row, I see the first 12 multiples of 1. For the second row, I see the first 12 multiples of 2, and so on. So when you work with nested loops, remember that the inner loop executes all of its iterations before the outer loop begins its next iteration.